Hello, everyone. It is Thursday, April 28th, NFL first-round draft day, plus the NBA playoffs in full swing, and lots going on with that. And we're going to speak about all that, not just from a what's going on perspective, but from a gambling perspective as well, which seems to be what a lot of people are caring about right now, which is great, as they should be. Hello, I'm Chris Hodge. This is the Sports Investors Daily Podcast, powered by TakingVegas.com. Good to be with everyone once again. So much to tackle, no pun intended, for the NFL draft. So much to go over for this Thursday. And I will start with the NBA playoffs. I know a lot of you are excited about the draft, as you should be. You know, it's a fun night. A lot of NFL fans get to actually dream about their team being good tonight. And that generally ends like 2 weeks later. So it's a fun night. And we'll get to that in a couple moments. You know, want to speak about the NBA playoffs and what's going on there, because tonight is a fascinating evening. Fascinating evening. Lots going on. And we'll start with Philadelphia because right now there are a lot of Sixers fans that are not happy individuals. And everything was going good. Up 3-0. Embiid makes a game-winning three in overtime, which we've basically never seen before. You know, a play being drawn up for a center to shoot a fadeaway three-point shot. When the hell has that ever happened in the NBA, right? On purpose, anyway. You know, sometimes, Tim Duncan made a couple, Ewing made a couple fadeaways, but not in a big spot like that. Everything was going good. They were singing the praises of one Doc Rivers. That was a few days ago. And that's how fast the world changes. It's that fast. You know, you go back, you lose game 4. Okay, no problem. So you don't get the sweep. No problem against Toronto. All good. Come home, we'll close them out in game 5. We're good. Never even close in game 5. Never even competitive. Never even had a shot to win the game. And now what happens? After singing the praises of Doc Rivers after game 3, now everything's coming out. Well, he's lost 31 games in closeout situations. I believe the number is he's lost 9 out of his last 10 closeout situation games. Okay? No team in NBA history has ever blown a 3-0 lead in the NBA playoffs. And we all agree there's a first time for everything. And if Philadelphia, who is a 1.5-point favorite tonight, goes to Toronto and loses tonight, the weight of the world will be on them in Game 7. The weight of the world. And we could potentially be looking at history there. And everyone associated with it will be run out of town that could possibly be run out of town. Doc Rivers will be fired before they reach the locker room if this team blows this series. They will murder James Harden. You want to talk about a public execution of a professional athlete? That will be it right there. He will never be safe again in terms of criticism. He'll be murdered. Murdered in the press. Murdered on social media. Murdered everywhere you could possibly murder him that's legal. That's what he'll get. Embiid, they'll stay away from. He's a fan favorite. But everyone else associated with this, and even Embiid might not be safe. But Philadelphia better go to Toronto and win tonight. And I'm telling you right here on the podcast, I don't think they're going to. I think they're going to lose tonight. Now, I do believe they'll win Game 7. But I think they're going to lose tonight. And I think it's going to be great for ratings because everyone in the world is going to watch that game. You know, if Toronto comes back from 3-0 to force a Game 7, I mean, that's the game the NBA execs and the TV execs, that's a game they dream about. But that's going to be wild. But look, Philadelphia is a 1.5-point favorite. I don't think they're going to win tonight. Here, TakingVegas.com, Sports Investors Daily. I'll give you a free pick right here on the podcast. I think that's going 7. Embiid's a little banged up with his thumb. James Harden did a tremendous job, by the way. Because no one has gotten more while doing less than James Harden. Yeah, he's got one NBA MVP. Okay, whatever. This guy has continually, prominently choked in the playoffs. I mean, do we need to go back to when they played Golden State in that Game 7 when he couldn't hit water if he fell out of a boat? I mean, how bad this guy's been in the playoffs. And yet, somehow, he hasn't been as criticized as he probably should have been. And it's simply because no one looks at James Harden really as a legit star. He thinks he is in his mind, but no one really looks at that. James Harden's just a guy that usually got to the free throw line. That's all he was. Hey, kudos to him. Kudos to his agent. Man, they did a lot with a little. They did a lot with a little because no one basically has performed worse in bigger spots and gotten more than this guy Harden. And if he struggles over the next 2 games, that will be the worst media you will ever see for what a perceived superstar is. And I don't think they're going to win tonight. So I think it gets very interesting for Philly. Free pick there. Toronto plus 1.5 tonight. Let's get to the next game. New Orleans and Phoenix. Be careful with this one. Devin Booker is still listed as out. I don't know how Phoenix gets away with that from a gambling perspective because the NBA is really big on this, and they've been good with it. The NBA has been good with it about listing players that are going to be out as fast as possible so as not to affect the sports betting line. Right now, as of time I'm doing this podcast, which is 1:42 Eastern time, and that's what time I'm recording right now, he is listed as out. Everyone expects him to play tonight at least a limited role, and limited could be anywhere between 15 to 25 minutes. Devin Booker plays in this game tonight, they're going to eliminate New Orleans. They're going to cover the spread. Devin Booker does not play in this game tonight. I still believe Phoenix wins the game, but it would not shock me if they don't. But Phoenix is still the better basketball team. And New Orleans, kudos to them. They've played a tremendous series. Got themselves into the play-in. They won. They did what they had to do. They play well at home. They made a nice in-season trade for C.J. McCollum. Very nice trade there. They got a couple good players on that team. They got a defensive pest in Alvarado. Brandon Ingram's playing well. This is a team that's on the up. They're on the come up. Do they get past Phoenix tonight to force a Game 7? I don't believe they do. I believe if Devin Booker is cleared to play, that line will jump instantly. So if you're looking for Phoenix money right now and try to get it at -2 before it jumps to 3.5, 4, if Booker is able to play, I don't think it matters either which way. I think Phoenix puts the clamps down on New Orleans tonight. Either which way, just a matter of whether your heart is pacing at a faster rate than not. Because if Booker doesn't play, maybe that game's a little close against the spread. If Booker does play, I think Phoenix wins by 10 easily. So, lean towards Phoenix here no matter what happens with Booker tonight. And then let's go over to Utah and Dallas. And I said this on the radio show last week. I am so sick of the Utah Jazz, and I've been sick of them forever. But it's just different levels of sickness because they always are kind of like right there, and then they constantly underperform. They've done that forever. Now, I can't blame them going back to the 90s for losing to Jordan. In fact, I don't blame anyone for losing to Michael Jordan. I don't blame, but they had some really good teams, that Utah Jazz teams. And they were they lost both of those NBA finals in the 90s and 6. They couldn't even get to a Game 7. One of them, they had home court advantage, couldn't even get to a Game 7. So they have constantly, been a decent NBA team that has accomplished absolutely nothing. Now there's some infighting again, and this seems like your deja vu, right? Groundhog's Day. This seems like it goes on every year with the Utah Jazz. Gobert, Mitchell, anyone else associated with the organization. They don't seem to get along. They got a good coach. Quinn Snyder's a good coach. But they don't seem like they get along. And through the first 3 games of the series, they were giving the best, biggest, nicest Christmas gift you could possibly get in April. No Luka. Doncic is out for the first 3 games. That's supposed to be 3-0. Remember what people have said about the Dallas Mavericks and Luka Doncic. Remember this. Luka's a great player who has 0 help. That's been said the last 2 years. 0 help. 0. So now you go into a playoff series. The Dallas Mavericks are your opponent. Luka is out for the first 3 games. Now you're playing a team with perceived 0 help. At worst, you're supposed to be up 2-1 after 3 games. At worst. I think that's ridiculous. I think they should have been up 3-0 on Dallas with no Luka. At worst, you're up 2-1. Nah. What does Utah do? They go into game 4 down 1-2. One game they won. They lost 2. That's just typical Utah. And they win game 4 at the buzzer with the alley-oop or, with a couple seconds left. They almost lost that game, Luka's first game back. And then they just get manhandled in game 5, and they're going to lose tonight. Because Utah, and then you're going to see Utah's going to fall apart. Mitchell's going to whine, scream, moan, probably get out of there and go to New York, which is the Knicks. And I don't know if that's any special thing for him. That's a blind leading the blind. You're going from one semi-garbage organization to another true garbage organization. I don't know where that is right there. I don't know what you're trying to accomplish there. But Mitchell will whine and cry to get out. Gobert, forget. That team's going to fall apart. They get bounced tonight, and they get bounced easily, which I think they're going to. I don't think they're ever going to be in the game tonight. I think Dallas runs through them tonight. So, right here in Sports Investors Daily Podcast, powered by TakingVegas.com, gave you a free pick there on the Raptors. Believe they force a Game 7. I'll give you a slight lean on Phoenix. I think whether Booker plays tonight, it's irrelevant. Phoenix eliminates New Orleans. Can't see Phoenix going to a Game 7 with New Orleans. And can't see Utah forcing a Game 7 because Utah's a garbage team. Dallas eliminates them tonight. So that is the NBA playoffs. One more thing I wanted to touch on. If you guys have been following sports recently over the last few days, there was something very interesting that I wanted to touch on with the TNT guys, Kenny, Shaq, and Charles Barkley. And Charles Barkley touched on the bus driver comment. So if you haven't seen this, or if you're not aware of what was said, when the Nets get swept by Boston, which is unbelievable in and of itself that they get swept by the Celtics, Charles Barkley goes on the TNT show after that, and he calls and he says Kevin Durant is simply on the bus. He's not the bus driver. Never been the bus driver, basically. And when you are the bus driver, there's a lot more pressure that comes along with you or with that situation. And a whole media firestorm starts over this comment. And I have to say, I agree with Charles Barkley. I don't care. A lot of people say that Kevin Durant was the best player on that Warriors team. And I don't think that's true. I think Steph Curry was the best player. And there's been a lot of pictures circulating on social media where 4 guys were trying to cover Steph Curry, and Kevin Durant is on the elbow where the three-point line is, and he's like with his hands up with literally no one near him. And he won the NBA Finals MVP twice. Great. But I don't think he was the best player on that team. I think Steph Curry was the bus driver of that team. I think Charles Barkley's 100% right. And basically, I've had this argument in the office, and I've defended Kevin Durant. I don't think there is a bigger baby in the NBA than Kevin Durant. I really don't. This guy gets away with murder. This guy joined a 73-win team and somehow did not get crucified for it. Now this guy goes out in 4. Now, here's the thing. Who do you always compare him to? Well, you compare him to LeBron James because those two have been the 2 best players, right, of this generation in the NBA, maybe short of Kobe Bryant when he was going through that run in the late, 2007, 2008, and into the 2 championship seasons and maybe 2 years after that. Outside of him, the 2 best players have basically been LeBron and Kevin Durant. They've always been compared to one another. And I am not a LeBron James fan. In fact, I never have been. However, if LeBron James pulled this stuff, he would get destroyed. If LeBron's getting destroyed for averaging 30 points a game and not even making the play-in, right? People were all over him. If LeBron James got swept with Kyrie Irving, remember something. LeBron James had Kyrie Irving as a teammate, a young Kyrie Irving. A Kyrie Irving that wasn't experienced. They won an NBA championship. Remember that. Kevin Durant just got swept. And somehow, some way, people are blaming Kyrie not being vaccinated because he couldn't play in God knows how many games, 50 of the games? Who cares? And here's the truth. Kevin Durant, as the bus driver, quote unquote, has won nothing, zero. And what's even worse, what's going to be even worse for Durant is if the Golden State Warriors going to win a title this year. Now I think he's just completely irrelevant. But what this has proven is he's not LeBron James. He's never been LeBron James. He's not even close to being LeBron James. And it's just a bad look. Never mind getting eliminated, getting swept. I mean, that's terrible. So we've had that comment with Charles Barkley, the bus driver comment, and I agree with him. I don't know how many of you out there agree with him. You can shoot me an email, chris@takingvegas.com, and let me know if you agree or disagree. And do that with anything I say, man. I love I'm not a political dude, but we have this thing in this country that's been, at the forefront recently with the Twitter purchase. We have this thing called free speech. I welcome it. You're allowed to disagree with me. Please do. If I say something you don't agree with, man, hit me up. There's no I'm not going to yell. I'm not going to scream. In intellectual dialogue. Excuse me for that. I say the word intellectual. That's great. Intellectual dialogue is great, and I welcome it. So I think what Kevin Durant did, and by the way, he's like I said, he's a baby, responding to people on Twitter. Calling like, why? And Mad Dog Russo said this on First Take. Like, why do you care? Why do you care what gets said? Are you that mentally frail and mentally weak? Why? Who cares what the outside world says? Man, go focus on your jump shot. Focus on making, because you played like garbage the first 3 games. And then when you had to make a shot in the 4th game, you didn't. Plain and simple. And none of the stars do this. Kobe Bryant didn't get away with this nonsense. LeBron James would never get away with this nonsense. I mean, you could go right down the stars. Listen, Jordan went to gamble when he played in a playoff series against the Knicks, got crucified when they were down 0-2. Never mind, he didn't lose the series. Jordan was simply down 0-2. And a story came out that he was gambling, and the media took it and ran. And what did Jordan go do? He won the next 4 games. Because that's what Jordan did. And you got these guys nowadays just crybabies, man. And I think Kevin Durant is leading the bus. He's certainly the bus driver of the crybaby department. So, again, chris@takingvegas.com. You can hit me up over there. And we can speak about it if you have any difference of opinions or you have the same opinion. Or if you just want some extra free picks, also visit takingvegas.com. We have a nice write-up for the draft tonight. We don't do a lot with the draft in terms of gambling, but for the sake of this podcast, I'll give you a couple selections. We'll talk about the top 10 here. Let's get to the draft. We'll talk about the top 10. Everyone's interested in it for this Thursday. And I am too. When you're in the business that I am in, you are not a fan of any one team. Maybe you have a slight allegiance where if you had to choose, you would like to see one team make a run. But you're not a fan of any business, any one team. What you're trying to do here is you're trying to see, okay, what player do you think will help each team the most, and where does that fit from a gambling perspective when the schedule is released, or potential maybe long shot Super Bowl odds, or win-loss totals when the season gets here. So that's the way you look at it. I don't look at it from a fan perspective. But obviously the draft is interesting. Lots of people excited about it, and they should be. It's a fun night. It's in Las Vegas for the first time. The party going on over here is crazy. Gronk got this beach party going. It's out of control. I mean, Vegas is always out of control anyway, but now they just add the NFL draft. It's like when they added the NBA All-Star game and then the world lost its mind. It's what goes on in Las Vegas. And you really got to be a disciplined fellow to get out of this city unscathed. You got to be a special disciplined person because trouble is literally everywhere. Trouble is literally everywhere. At every turn, at every red light, it is everywhere. That's before you even get into the casinos. Trouble is everywhere. So you got to be a special individual to get out of this city, with no trouble. But let's get to the NFL draft. Obviously, the number one team, the number one pick goes to Jacksonville. What else is new? They had the number one pick last year. Terrible organization, brutal at that. They're actually terrible at being terrible. I mean, it's terrible at being terrible or great at being terrible, whatever you want to call it. They're just a bad organization. Like, whatever can go wrong will go wrong. And I believe they're going to take Aiden Hutchinson tonight, and I don't think that's the right pick. I watched Aiden Hutchinson against Georgia in the national semifinals. He looked irrelevant. Obviously, Georgia was a phenomenal team, won the college football championship over a very good Alabama team. But Aiden Hutchinson really didn't make his mark on that game. I mean, the game was over before it started, to be honest with you. But, and look, I say this and I get in trouble with the Big Ten people. I never have ever in my life thought the Big Ten was a great football conference. They have Ohio State, and that's about it. Like, now you're going to have the people. Well, Michigan beat them. Yeah, okay. Like, a blind squirrel finds an acorn every now and again. Okay, Michigan beat them this year. Well, fine, whatever. They've lost, 15 out of the last 17 or whatever it is. So they have Ohio State. If you took Ohio State out of the Big Ten, no one would ever pay attention to the Big Ten. The only reason why you watch the Big Ten is because of Ohio State. We watching Indiana, Iowa, stuck in the I formation offense. Like, who are you watching? Rutgers? Really? The Big Ten? I mean, forget that. Penn State constantly underachieves. Michigan State, useless. Like, who? Why? Who else? Is there anyone else? No, it's bad football. It's always been bad football. But they have Ohio State. So that conference, is somewhat paid attention to about that. But Aiden Hutchinson, I believe he's going to go number one. I don't think he should. I think Jacksonville should go O-line. You could look at Evan Neal. I think he's a phenomenal offensive lineman. Kwanu, another one, very good. But I think they're going to go with edge rusher. And Aiden Hutchinson, I don't even think is the best edge rusher in the draft, but somehow, some way, that's probably going to be the number one pick. So now you look at number 2, Detroit, who's another mainstay in the top 5. They're constantly drafting there, constantly screwing things up. I think they get it right, though, this year, because I think if Aiden Hutchinson goes number 1, now Detroit can take Trayvon Walker, who I believe is the best defensive lineman in the draft. And I think if Detroit gets out of there with Trayvon Walker, that's a score for them. So that's why I think the first 2 are going to be. Wouldn't shock me if Jacksonville took Trayvon Walker either and they figured it out that he's better. And then I think Hutchinson would drop if he doesn't go number 1. But that's what we're looking at in the top 2. Now we get to the teams that just perpetually do their finest to screw things up. And we'll start with the Houston Texans. And I think the Houston Texans are going to take the kid Derek Stingley Jr. from LSU. Why do I think they're going to do that? Because they're stupid. That's what happens. And now, people in the Houston area listening to this, most of you probably agree with me. The Houston Texans are a stupid football organization. Always have been. Always have been. You hit with Deshaun Watson. Besides that, I mean, is there anyone else? Really? I mean, so Derek Stingley is a fine cornerback. But he's not the best cornerback in the draft class. That would be Gardner. So at number 3, if you find a way to take the second best corner in the draft class, simply because he played at LSU and Gardner played at Cincinnati, who cares? The hell, Ben Roethlisberger played at Miami, Ohio. Who cares? You could find great players that play for, and look, Cincinnati's been a very good football team the last couple of years. But I believe that Houston will screw things up. And if they take Derek Stingley Jr., I will literally laugh. I'm not saying they got to take Gardner here. I'm not saying that. I think I would go with an O-lineman here if I'm them. However, if you take the second best corner with the 3rd pick in the draft, you're a bunch of idiots, and it wouldn't shock me. And that brings us to the New York Jets, who get 2 chances in the top 10 to screw stuff up. Now, the good thing for the Jets is you get to watch 3 teams go first, right? So you'll have an idea of where you want to go, and they can go offensive line. I don't think they take Gardner at number 4. Although that wouldn't shock me. But I think they'll go with one of the best offensive linemen available. Could be Evan Neal, could be Cross, could be Kwanu. One of those guys. Whoever they have rated as the highest one, I don't think you can go wrong with either guy or either of the guys. But look, I think the Jets will celebrate the stupidity of the Texans because I don't think the Texans are going to take the offensive lineman. And I think Houston goes Derek Stingley. And now the Jets basically have the first pick of the offensive lineman if the two DNs go 1-2, and then Stingley goes 3. So I think the Jets would greatly enjoy that. And then we get to the Giants, who will F this up every which way possible. They have the number 5 and the number 7 pick, and they will find a way, as they always do, to take a player that ends up being like the 20th best player of the draft, because this is what the Giants do. They just overthink anything. And right away, they're linked to Charles Cross. Why? Because they're even dumber than the Texans. And again, I hate when this is a kid and his dream is about to be realized, and I'm not speaking ill of any particular player. Charles Cross is a very, very good offensive lineman. But if Evan Neal is there or Kwanu's there, I mean, you take one of those two. Simple and plain. But the Giants overthink everything. And this is like 2020 when they could have took Tristan Wirfs and they took Andrew Thomas. Now, Andrew Thomas might very well be a great offensive lineman. He's trending upward, but Wirfs is better. And they found a way to take Andrew Thomas. So this is what reminds me of. I think whoever the Giants pick will end up probably being the worst offensive lineman of the 4 or the 5 that go in the first round, because this is what the Giants do. So they've been linked to Charles Cross. If Evan Neal or Kwanu is there, if they don't take one of those guys, they're just idiots. And they very well might be. And that gets us to Carolina. I don't believe they're going to take the quarterback here, because Pickett and Willis and definitely not Ritter, they're just not good enough to warrant a pick here. So Carolina might trade out, try to trade down, and then take the QB, maybe in the late teens or the early 20s. And that wouldn't be a bad move for them. So I could see them doing that. But it wouldn't shock me if they took, whichever off. There's 3 really, really good offensive linemen, and whichever one is left, I think they get. And they might end up with the best one, because the Jets might screw it up, the Giants might screw it up, and Carolina might end up with the best offensive lineman. Could see them taking Evan Neal here if he's still available. If Evan Neal's available at 6, they're taking him. They won't trade out. If he's available at 6, they'll take him. So that's what I got Carolina doing. And then we get back to our friends, the New York Giants. And it's basically watch how they F this up number 2. Because right here at number 7, if Gardner is available, they are supposed, how you get 10 minutes to make the draft? This should be the pick. This should be at 9 minutes and 58 seconds left. They should run up to the podium, okay, at risk of someone dropping dead of a heart attack who's supposed to deliver the pick. They should run up to the podium as fast as possible and get the kid Gardner if he's available at number 7. But the Giants won't do that. The Giants are not going to do that. I would be shocked if they did. They're going to, what they're going to take here? They're going to take Garrett Wilson. Why? Because they're stupid. And they're even dumber than I thought. And again, no knock on Garrett Wilson. A phenomenal receiver from Ohio State. The best receiver in this draft class. But if you don't have anyone throwing them the ball, and I'm not sure Daniel Jones is the answer, what good's a receiver? The Giants need to play to their defense. Whenever the Giants were good, they played to their defense. Even when they had Eli Manning, they played to their defense. What were the scores of those Super Bowls? They beat the Patriots. What were those scores? They were all 17-14 and 21-17. They always played to their defense. Or when they won the conference championship games, defense. They've always played to their defense. Weather gets bad in New York starting in November. You need a good defense. And this kid Gardner, I think he's the best corner in the draft, hands down. And if you get a chance to get the best corner in the draft, you take him. But watch what the Giants do here. Atlanta, I think they go Thibodeau. That's a big drop for him, but he's a phenomenal player. And you get him at number 8. That's phenomenal. Seattle, Jermaine Johnson. Very, very good edge rusher, D-end. And, there's not many of them after him. There's 4 really good ones, as we spoke about. There's 4 really good ones, Hutchinson, Walker, Thibodeau, and Johnson. And then after that, there's a tremendous drop-off. Like, it's really bad. So if you're Seattle, you're not going to take a receiver, because who's going to throw you the ball, right? I mean, who's doing that? You already have Metcalf. You don't really need a receiver. You're not playing to your offense this year anyway. It's a rebuilding year because you're in the division with Arizona, San Francisco, and L.A., the defending champions L.A. So you're the 4th best team in that division no matter what you do. So I could see them playing to their defense, taking Jermaine Johnson, who's a really good pick. They lose Bobby Wagner, so they got to do something on defense. And we get back to the Jets. If the Giants do what they're supposed to do and take Gardner, that means Garrett Wilson is available here at 10. If Garrett Wilson is available here at 10, the Jets take Garrett Wilson. If Garrett Wilson is not available because the Giants are idiots, okay, Gardner might be here at 10, which is a score for them. They should take him. Or Drake London is here at 10. I'm good either which way. I think you definitely got to get a weapon for the kid Wilson because you want to find out if he's the real deal or not. I think if the Giants screw up and don't take Gardner, if the Giants take Garrett Wilson, I don't think the Jets can go wrong with Gardner or Drake London. Now, let's say Giants do what they're supposed to do and they take Gardner and, Garrett Wilson makes it past Atlanta and Seattle, which I see happening. Garrett Wilson's the best wide receiver in the draft, and the Jets will take him. So that's how I see the top 10 going. You can go on about this stuff all day long. 11 to 32, it's a crapshoot. Very hard to predict trades, all this other stuff. Trying to give you guys the top 10 of what I think is going to happen. And gave you a couple free picks here with the NBA playoffs tonight. Spoke about the bus driver comment. And, that's going to wrap it up, man. You can follow us on Instagram at Taking Vegas. DM us the word free. The social media team gets free picks out every day for 7 straight days. You can go visit takingvegas.com. There's write-ups every single day with free picks, free videos there as well. And you can also give us a call at 888-9-WIN-NOW if you'd like to speak about how to, turn sports wagering into an investment and a business. That is possible. You have to do it the right way. Patience, discipline, like anything else that you have to be successful in life. It doesn't happen overnight. So if you'd like to have that conversation, by all means, give us a call, 888-9-WIN-NOW. That's 888-994-6669. And I also told you, Chris at takingvegas.com is my email. I answer each and every email. I might not answer them day of, but I answer each and every email eventually. I don't think a week has gone by where I have not answered every single email. Just might take a couple days for me to get and have the time to do it. But besides that, I wish everyone a blessed Thursday. I hope you guys have a great day. I hope you guys enjoy the NBA playoffs tonight. Should be a great 3 games. Lots of storylines with those 3 games, as we touched on earlier. Hope you guys enjoy the NFL draft. It's going to be a lot of fun. It always is. And we'll catch you back here next week on the Sports Investors Daily Podcast, powered by TakingVegas.com. Chris Hodge here, signing off. Have a great day, everyone.